those in this room that are producing like favorable outcomes in this space, it's not by accident. It's because of strategy. We took a really high level look at what's going on in the industry. Inventory's going up, right? Demand is softening, going down. We looked at that funnel, if you remember. We're dumping everything into a funnel and we're learning. Jose was kind enough to share with us his knowledge with regards to those exits and how I was actually on a hike this morning and me and Ruben were talking and I was telling him, look, there's only 4 ways to increase business. The first way to increase business is to increase leads. The second way is to increase conversion. The third way is ascension. You sell somebody something for $1,000 and then you ascend them into something for 10,000. The third way is retention. You keep them for longer. What Jose and what our next speaker are doing is they're adding more leads to their funnel and they're converting them better. Well, if you get 40 leads at a 10% conversion rate, how many deals are you gonna do a month? 4. Easy math, right? Now let's say we get 80 leads. Same conversion rate. Okay, I know we're with agents, a little slow, but yeah. So 8, yeah? Okay, now watch the math. Let's say you have 40 leads and you have a 20% conversion rate. How many deals are you doing? 8. Now if you increase the leads to 80, how many deals are you doing? So look at what's happening. They're putting more in their funnel, more leads, but because they understand different exits, as a result, their conversion's going up. And both things are getting bigger, yes or yes? That's exactly what's happening. I met Abel, I don't know, maybe like 9 months ago, and it was via media, right?
Yeah, I just reached out to you.
Yeah, he just reached out to me. He's like, hey man, I see what you're doing. Like, let's spend some time together. Systematically, during the time that we spent, he was already doing great business. What we've done is made that transition, right? Where he had a team, he had agents on the team. We looked at that economic model. We changed the splits, right? To make sure that it was more economical and he can give away more of those listings. We started to focus on the creative, and exactly what's happening with Jose is happening with Abel, where both are getting bigger. So he's gonna double what he did last year in creative, and his retail's growing as well. And the difference being, Jose's out there doing the deals, Abel has his team doing them. So it's like the next evolution. So with that, let's bring a very warm welcome to Abel.
There you go.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, way to go.
Awesome, really grateful to be here. Aaron, thank you for allowing me to speak and share. What Aaron and I had mapped out in 2024 was we looked at all our numbers. I was kind of just driving around with my agents like all day, 2-3 appointments a day. We have like a 50-mile radius that we cover. So on certain days, I could literally be like in a car on an appointment all day. I was making money, but when we looked at it, it just wasn't really adding up for like dollars per hour. So the goal was like, how could we do more with minimum viable effort? And where can we spend more capital, human and financial to get the biggest results? So I think everybody here has that same opportunity, because what are we doing? We're talking to sellers. And ideally we want to be talking to like motivated sellers. That's the same avatar that a wholesaler has and a great listing agent. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of like map out what changes I've implemented and what the results have been. So a little bit of background about myself. I want to go over the principal versus agent mentality, the hybrid model that Jose and I both have implemented, wholesaling, creative, and listing business, how I structure the team, how my agents get paid, and marketing, and then also dispo. So a lot of questions have been like, well, what happens when I get a really good deal? What am I gonna do with it? So the 2025 goal that Aaron and I had mapped out was take the wholesale income from 500 to $1 million. The thought process there was like, I'm kind of treating the wholesale business like a hobby. Like I'm running an ad, it's working. I've netted 500K so far, but I don't really do anything other than just like run an ad. I don't look at metrics. So the goal was to increase the wholesale business to $1 million in 2025. Reason being, there's less friction per transaction, I think, which a lot of anyone who hasn't done a wholesale deal can attest to. There's less expenses. You're not paying for photos, staging, there's none of that. It's a lot quicker. Typically, we get our wholesale deals under contract and sold within 30 days. And there's less people per transaction and much, much higher margins. And then on the brokerage side, it's been a great business for me. It's treated me really well. What I realized was on my agent side deals where an agent would take a listing, we would split it. My net after paying for photos and this or that was about $8,000. So when I thought about it, I'm like, I don't want to have to do 100 deals like that. It There's so much friction. So the goal with the retail was just keep it, maintain it at the very minimum, if not increase it, but stop going on appointments. Stop babysitting my agents, stop letting them use me as a crutch. Because it wasn't efficient to have 2 people on the same appointment. We could both be on our own appointment, right? Now they're just as good, if not better than me at converting, right? They go on more appointments than me. So if I had to guess, they probably have a better conversion rate than me at this point. And then also giving more opportunity to the team, because if there's $1 million listing appointment, the old me would have been like, there's no way I'm letting anyone else do that. That's me. Now it's like, here, I trust you, take it. Splits are a little bit different, so it still makes sense for me financially. Why I needed to make that change? Before it was just me, I was like single, living life, not really paying too much attention to my money. But then I met my wife. We had a beautiful little girl, another baby on the way. I'm like, yeah, there's like no way I can be working like 50, 60 hours a week, going on appointments, and then like devoting, minimal time to my family. So this year I've taken a few months off, got married, went on some like personal like trips. So like I've worked the least I've ever worked in my whole career, but business is as good as it's ever been. So get into how we did that. One way to think about everything on like every time you're having a conversation with a lead or a seller is the principal versus agent mentality. So an agent or a broker or a wholesaler, what they're thinking about is a transaction and a dollar amount. And then what a principal is thinking about is, equity, long-term, net worth, appreciation, cash flow. And I'll give you an example of how my framework is when I think about an opportunity. So if I'm talking to a motivated seller, can I buy this? Would it like make sense to put in my personal portfolio? Do I have the means to buy it too, right? Because you can't buy every deal you look at. You don't want to be stretched too thin. Can I hold it? Can I burr it? Like, hey, maybe I don't have a ton of money sitting liquid right now, but can I keep it there for 3 months and refi it and get my money back? Can I bring in a partner and can we JV this? Can I get seller financing with like great terms with like very little money down? If the answer is no, then can I wholesale this? What's the average fee on wholesale is like over $40,000. So I'm obviously thinking about that before like a listing opportunity, especially if it's a motivated seller that came from like a cash offer lead because that's what they asked me to give them, right? I'm not gonna force like a residential listing opportunity into a wholesale bucket because that doesn't make sense either. I liked what Jose said about the net listing or the performance-based listing. I want to start implementing that too. If somebody tells me like, here's what I want to net, can I reverse engineer to get them what they want and maybe make it a little more upside for the team? And then if no, does this make sense for a 4% listing? And what I mean by 4% is 4% on the listing side. And I'll get into how we do that. I'd say over 80% listings that we take as a team, whether it's me or the girls, or we're taking it 4% every time. If no, can I flip this? That's, again, one of my least favorite exit strategies because of the time involved. And then is anything else other than that really worth like me or my team's time? So we try to really stay away from like the 3% and under listing opportunities. When we do the math on expenses, it's like none of us are really making that much money. Principal versus agent example in 2021, when I was still kind of on the phone myself, just doing the hard work, dialing, came across an apartment building owner. It was a 1-call close. He was like, hey, I'm not gonna give it away. I was like, great, I wouldn't expect you to. What do you want? And he was like, well, I wouldn't take less than $650. And I was like, okay, let me call you back in a few minutes. I'll let you know if that worked. I knew it was worth like $1 million.
Hey, did you have to like contain yourself?
Yeah, I contained myself. So I was like, okay, I called him back. I met him in the office a little bit later, got the contract signed. He wanted a little bit more after he like thought about it. And I'm like, okay, $680, we'll do it. So then I had an opportunity to wholesale it for like $850 like that day. And I like really thought about it. I'm like, well, that's a lot of money. That's a big fee. And I like thought about it. And then I had never bought a piece of real estate before, but I had been listening to Bigger Pockets, et cetera. And I was like, okay, this is probably a pretty viable opportunity for me to purchase this. So I did. I got a hard money loan, came up with like 70, 80 grand, renovated the units, increased the cash flow. Eventually later on did a refi, pulled like $200K out tax-free. So I got all my money back, held it for a little bit longer. And then I was like, I've maxed out the value here. Like rents aren't going up anymore. The value's probably not going up anymore. Now would be a good time to exchange. So what I did is I took the equity from that. I bought 2 other assets, and I took like 300,000 in whatever equity was left over, and I turned into about another $1 million in net worth. So like that one deal has increased my net worth by $1 million when it could have been $100,000 fee, which would have been nice. But it's like the long-term thinking, and that was like the first one I ever bought, which just kept me in that, in that frame. So I'd encourage everybody to always think from the principal frame before you think about a transaction. The old team in 2022, I had 7 agents. All of them were like brand new, less than a year of experience. Some of them were my friends that just like thought it'd be cool to work with me. I was super stressed out. That was the only year I actually lost money on my P&L. In 2021, I think I had a $600K net. In 2022, I had like a negative $63K net. I mean, there's a lot of write-offs and whatnot, but still. It was just a bad time in my life where I like kept taking on stress, and eventually it all caught up to me. So then like everything just fell apart. Some of the guys that worked with me stole my database, I got kicked out of Keller Williams.
That was a blessing.
Yeah. So then the new team, 2 senior agents and then 1 operations gal. I mean, we just lost our other assistant. I was talking to Aaron about like, what's my weakness? It's like we have a tight-knit group, so if anybody leaves, it's gonna kind of screw things up. And then like the next day, somebody left. So anyway, I trimmed down the team quite a bit. So now it's basically just us. I mean, we have some VAs and whatnot, but it's just like we were talking about earlier, a big team, low profit margins, a lot of friction, a lot of stress, and it just wasn't really worth it for me. So what I did with the team, with the 2 senior agents, they're basically trained to think like me now. They have been on hundreds of appointments with me since 2022. And they've been on wholesale appointments, listing appointments, and now they can do both, right? They can get wholesale contracts locked up super low. They know where the numbers need to be, and they're also taking listings at 4% like 90% of the time. So the old splits were 50-50 if I provided the lead from any source, whether it was like database or like a TV commercial lead or what have you. And then it was 70-30 if the agent brought it to the table. On the ones that the agent brought to the table at 70-30, when I looked at my P&L, I was actually like losing money. It seemed like a fair split at the time, but when I looked at how much money I'm spending on like making them successful, it just didn't work. So what the new splits are in the retail is 65-35 Abel if company provided, 50-50 if agent provided. And then the other thing that I changed this year was if they needed me to go on an appointment, like I will, but now it's 75 to me for my time. So immediately, no more appointments. Like they didn't ask me again, right? Yeah. And they were a little bit scared. I was a little bit scared, like, how's this gonna work? I think we both had like a limiting belief that I was the reason we were getting all these listings or contracts, which just wasn't true. So now like they have just as high as the close rate without me. And again, they're going on so many appointments now that I would imagine they probably have a better close rate if we were to like just test it out. And then on wholesale, current splits, 70-30 to me. And then same thing, if they want me to go on the appointment, I will, but now it's 15% to them. So they don't ask me to go on those either. Before that, with the wholesale, it was 70-30 to them, but a lot of our leads were like TV leads. So they would literally pick up the phone, set the appointment. I would go with them. We would make a $50K fee, and they would end up with 15 grand for answering the phone. I could have either done something like I did now where they have to go on themselves, or I could have just like added like an answering service. Right, but I like the fact that they're going out in the field because it frees up my time. So financials, I'm just gonna compare 2024 to 2025, retail and wholesale. So in 2024, the team grossed 1.5 million in GCI. Out of that, I netted just under $1 million. So it was about 65% of GCI that I kept. The difference was I went on every single appointment with the girls, and I didn't really have a life outside of work. Didn't really like work weekends, but still it was like Monday through Friday, it was jam-packed. 2025 year to date, we're at just under $1 million as a team, and I'm at 633 individually. So my GCI being kept has went up slightly, but the difference is I've been on 0 appointments with the girls and like co-listing opportunities. And then what I do, because I still go on my own appointments, I haven't been spending as much time on the phone or like following up with leads, but what I'll do is I'll like cherry pick like the really good ones. I'm like, this is just too easy, right? It's like $1 million or plus. Like, I know it's a signed deal. Like, I'm not just gonna like give it away just to give it away. But if it's like anything else or depending on my schedule, I'm like happy to just like tee those up for one of the girls to go on. Which was another like thing that we had to go over with the mental map was like giving more away, giving the opportunity away. It frees up my time, which is awesome, which is the main thing I wanted to do with family. But then it also like creates an opportunity for like these agents that I have to where it's like, well, why would they want to go anywhere else? If you're building a team and you want top tier talent where like agents are closing at like 80+% listing wholesale, they're probably going to want to be making like a couple $100,000 a year, right? And if they're not, then they're going to be looking at like, well, I know how to do this. I might as well just go try it on my own. But at this point, like everything's just so cush and cherry for them that they would be silly to try to go do it on their own. And I also too, what I've noticed with girls versus guys as agents, and I'm making a generalization here, but guys have seemed to be like, they want to take over the world. They might start like very humble and whatnot, but then over time they're like, oh yeah, I could do this. And then they want to be the king. With girls, if they're making a lot of money and like they're not having to pay for their own expenses, so there's 0 risk. They're working like 9 to 5, like Monday through Friday. It's not like crazy hours. Like they're gonna stay, they're gonna be happy. Again, generalization, but that's what I've found. And then wholesale in 2024, we did 18 sides, 722 gross, 38,000 average fee across the board. Some of those I went on my own. Some of those the girls, I went on all 18 appointments, right? But some of them the girls had answered the phone or what have you. So my take home on that was 580, and then about 30,000, average on those 18. Like I said, sometimes the agent would literally just pick up the phone on a TV commercial ad. I'd go with them and then they'd make 20 grand. So in 2024, my best sources were TV and then Need to Sell My Own Fast, now Motivated Sellers, so PPL. Some of it was like SEO too, just search engine optimization, just having like a really good cash buyer website. People clicked on it. In 2025, so far we've done 693 year to date, 12 total sides, 57,000 average fee. We've increased that average fee by 50%. This year I've been on 0 appointments, like co-listing or co-opportunities with the girls. I've been on my own appointments, but they also do their own appointments. They keep 30% if they lock it up, right? They keep 15 if I have to go with them. So far it's been 554 to me, 12 sides, 46 average fee. That's a 53% increase. And we're definitely on track to double the wholesale income from last year to this year, as long as everything keeps going. What I found that's interesting is my source is literally all TV for the wholesales. One thing that I did do differently this year, and I'll talk about the marketing channels, is TV. There's 2 ways to go about it. There's like cable, right? News networks, much more expensive because you're broadcasting to everybody. Right? You can also do streaming, which is like Hulu, Apple TV, Samsung TV, all the freemium stuff that people don't pay the premium for. You have to watch ads. The media broker can actually demographically target your audience, just like a Facebook ad. So you can be like, I only want to get in front of people 50 years old and plus homeowners with this income level. So you can take a huge market like LA and like narrow it way down so that way your cost isn't through the roof to run TV ads. So one thing that I did going into the end of 2024 was I started the freemium sites. I didn't have another number to track freemium versus cable until now, so I don't necessarily know like if these are coming from cable or streaming, but in the next like month I'll start to know. But the only thing that I changed this year was adding the freemium, so I have to imagine that's part of the reason. why we have so much more deal flow. And then average fee going up, I would just attest that to like just being better negotiators. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to make low offers, but it's like making an offer without making the offer. It's like, well, what were you thinking? Oh, I don't really want to tell you. It's like, okay, well, it would help me like to know, like, you don't have to tell me, but it's like, if I have something to shoot for, then like, you're probably gonna end up in a better situation. And then if they don't want to tell you, it's like, well, hey, I'm sure you would never take X. So you're not really making that low offer, but you're feeling them out. And then sometimes if they're motivated enough, they'll just tell you like, yeah, I want 250. It's like, okay, well, let me see if I can do that. And it's like, we know it's worth 4, right?
Try to contain your excitement.
And then so now kind of that hybrid model, right? So all of our advertising, anything that we're actually spending money on is like, hey, would you consider an offer? Or we do cash offers, right? So the PPL, people are clicking on something that says cash offer. The TV, they're calling on something that says, I'll give you a cash offer. The texting that I'll get into says, hey, this is Kayla, would you consider an offer, right? So like all of our funnel is people looking at possibly getting an offer. Now a lot of those turn into listings, right? Because if you think about it statistically speaking, a seller, any seller, how many of them on average are willing to sell their house at a discount? 1 in 10, right? They might think that it sounds like a good option when they look at the numbers, they're like, no, right? So what you want to do if you're running cash offer advertisements is have a great segue, a great transition, a great frame into like, hey, we do 2 things, right? A lot of people call us on a cash offer situation. The thing is we can't buy every house that we look at because we're just a local investment group. We'll do our best. Have you thought about listing the house if the cash offer doesn't work? It's like, they'll tell you why or why they don't want to do that. And it's like, okay, awesome. Well, if your house doesn't qualify for a cash offer program because it's too nice or the numbers just don't work, we are one of the only full service brokerages that, have a program to sell your home as is. So when we get together, at the very least, we can tell you what your house would go for on the open market. Does that sound fair? So then when we get to the appointment, no matter how motivated they sound on the phone, we already have that segue into permission to give a listing appointment. It's not like a bait and switch. They're not expecting a cash offer and now you want to list my house. It's like, well, if they call you on a cash offer, they're expecting a cash offer, you show up and you're like, yeah, I don't think the cash offer is going to work, but I can help you list your house. They're going to be like, goes down. So if you're just open, honest, it's like, hey, we do 2 things. We have 2 different businesses. Depending on your situation, one could work better than the other. And again, you're kind of getting permission to give a listing appointment just in case when you get there, depending on their motivation. And then here, I just broke down all the commissions. So with our off market, like coming soon, our pending, on market, active, and then our pendings, you'll notice you see a lot of 4% listing side listings. I'll take them like a little bit less if it's like friends, family, past client, like on my list backs. I don't take them at 4. I'm also not sharing my commission, so I can afford to take it a little bit less. But what I've done is I've given the girls a 10% bonus from their 35-65 split if they can take it at 4, which puts them at 45-55. So now what do you know? They take almost every single listing at 4%.
Warren Buffett says you have to be careful how you incentivize people because it shapes behavior. Look at the incentives that he's putting in place to shape their behavior. And then magically, guess what starts happening? They're not asking them to go on the appointments, and they're taking 4% listings.
Yeah.
How are they framing that?
Oh, so we started doing it in 2023 when there's still the commission thing, like the normal commission. So what we used to do was 6% all the time, but then it was 3.5, 2.5, and I was like, why are we offering 2.5? Like, why don't we just keep 4? Our listings are still going to sell when we offer 2. So then, sure enough, that's what happened. So we got in like the phase of just keeping 4, and then when they switched, what we say now is like, hey, time to negotiate commissions. Like, hey, the good news is all we have to talk about today is our commission. Like the buyer's commission is gonna to be determined when offers come in. There's no set amount, right? So our fee is 4%. And then based on the presentation, it typically that's it. Like they've heard such a good presentation. They have a lot of confidence in the process. They like me or one of the girls. And then also keep in mind that 99% of our leads are motivated sellers. So they're not necessarily shopping for agents or thinking about doing a FSBO to save money. They're like, they need to sell. That's why they wanted a cash offer. Like the numbers make more sense on the listing. We give them their net here. You know, we're factoring in a 6% commission on their net. But typically we're not getting a ton of pushback. And then if they are, because the girls know what's on the line for them, they're able to like, you know, use the commission objection like structure to push past it and still keep their 4%.
Are you getting any pushback on the buyer's agent commission when it comes to receiving offers?
No. I mean, we're like setting the frame with them, like, you know, like, hey, are you guys offering something? It's like, well, yeah, the seller's definitely open to it. It's just like, you know, the more competitive your offer, like higher probability, like they're gonna be happy to pay you. So like we're already framing them up to like submit a more competitive offer. And then it's like, hey, we have another offer. They're only asking for 2%. Like that's what the seller's willing to do. And then it's like, if they're gonna walk away over 0.5%, or like if you send a counter that says 2%, now the buyer sees it, are you really gonna like throw away your relationship with your buyer because you wanna make an extra 0.5%, right? Like the buyer's like, yeah, let's do it. They accepted my offer. But yeah, it doesn't work every time, but like if that's the goal, then lo and behold, that's typically what you get. And then when you look at your P&L, especially if you're splitting it up with an agent on your team, it just makes way more sense. Like now I'm keeping a little bit more than 2% on my listings that I'm like not going on. I'm paying for photos, etc. But like the net, I think is like gonna be like 8K last year on agent deals to like 15K this year.
When you combine those two guys, bro, there are people in this room, 1 million retail, 1.5 million creative in the same year. Bro, we're not doing brain surgery here, guys. We're just like helping people buy and sell real estate.